Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back. It's good to see you all. Hope you guys have been great and hope you guys have been safe. I want to say happy Father's Day to everybody around the world who is fathers, of course, and those of you that are getting ready to become fathers. Happy Father's Day to you. Listen, man, so there's a lot of mixed bag of emotions, and notice I'm not, I don't have no crazy vibe going into this because, again, this is more of not necessarily I told you so, but this is the type of thing that I've been telling you that this is more likely going to be the case in Sony's future. One of the main things we talked about in my last video was hybrid consoles and how that can be beneficial to players. And I do believe that this is something that Sony is also going to do, courtesy of their comments after this actual meeting. But before we get into all that, let's just go ahead and get into what the meeting was about. Obviously, the meeting was about Sony's future and how they're going to handle their business going forward. More of the same of what you've already heard before. Obviously, live service games. A lot of people believe that live service games are going to be a thing of the past because of a lot of games failing in general. Their biggest game failure, which was Concord, which was not oversaw, but it was given the biggest go ahead by Herman Holtz. Concord, that game ended up not only failing, but it also cost Sony multiple studios along the way. Now, a lot of people are hearing this news and they're like, okay, why would you guys do this? We said goodbye to X amount of things. And like I told you guys beforehand, man, Sony needs more than just single player games at this point. And also, you got to understand as well, even if they were to get rid of the live service situation, the only real source of way of getting more money out of the games they already have would be to go all out day and date with their first party games, as you guys are already seeing with the sales figures of these games. I want you to notice, if you watch the actual briefing with Herman Holtz and he was talking about the sales figures of all the games, he was very selective in what games he was talking about. Notice he said, for example, for Astrobot, he said Astrobot was a good game. It did very, very well in terms of review scores and, of course, public perception, right? The game went on to win Game of the Year. But notice he didn't say it sold ridiculously well. He did not say it at all. Instead, he flipped to Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima, which, by the way, is a PS4 title, did sell very, very well. Sold very well. I think it sold over 10 million. And that was a new IP. So he's like, yo, this franchise is really, really good, talking about Ghost of Yote being most anticipated and vice versa. Again, this is a problem that I've been telling you guys for a long time ago. I've been telling you this for the longest time. Not every game is a guaranteed seller for PlayStation. And this has kind of been a really big gripe that I've always had. Dudes will hype a lot of these games up and not support them. And Herman Holtz's frustration of him having to flip back and forth to different particular games is showing on his face right here. And a lot of people get upset when I say, more options is not a bad thing. Well, get ready for a whole bunch of more options, because it's about to get a hell of a lot more sinister. In fact, let's continue to look as we progress with this particular information when it comes to this show or this briefing. Some of the news that I took from this, right? Obviously, he'd said, and I quote, that, gamer feedback is our main thing that we're prioritizing and whatnot. And this is where it has a lot of people kind of conflicted. I'm going to repeat what I just said. He flat out said that we're going to have, the gamers' feedback is one of our top priorities, in terms of how we shape our, our games and whatnot. Well, if the feedback is, from the gamers is what you're using to shape what you guys are trying to do, you're already at a bad start as it is, because there are multiple games that you've had that you could have dropped already. And I don't need to repeat myself, but I'll do it for the sake of this video to someone who's new here. Obviously, we have Resistance, which they turned down. We had the Spider-Man multiplayer option, which got shut down immediately, courtesy of the feedback from Bungie. And of course, we'll get back into Bungie in a second, but that was shut down in general, right? We said goodbye to Twisted Metal. That was a new game that we were going to get, AAA budget game. That's no longer a thing. We had The Last of Us Factions 2 multiplayer. That was a big deal that we knew was going to be a big deal. Even Shuhei Yoshida said it was a good thing and vice versa. That game is no longer a thing. So we're saying goodbye to games here. I named 4 games that most definitely could have been fantastic in terms of getting people interested. Also, I haven't even thrown in a potential SOCOM. That's 5 games that could have fit the multiplayer live service approach you want to do, especially with you putting a prioritization over monthly active users. Now, a lot of people push this narrative because they remember, especially during the drought with PlayStation. Dudes kept bringing up 75 million PlayStation 5 sold and all this ridiculous, irrelevant numbers. Yes, PlayStation 5 did do ridiculously well in terms of units sold. No one's taking that away from the console. But here's the thing you fail to realize, and this is where my frustration continued to grow with PlayStation and, of course, the community. It doesn't matter how many units PlayStation has. If you have 75 million units sold, and you're only averaging about 2 million sales per game, if not 1 million in some particular cases, like, or less than 1 million, in some particular cases, like Returnal, that's not a good look for PlayStation as a whole. And it doesn't build a really good foundation or a lot of faith going into potential sequels. Look at Soros. I appreciate the ever-living hell out of Housemarque. They made a believer out of me. I will no longer question these guys on what these guys can do. That is a talented team that is very passionate. I am good friends with a lot of people over there. And so make no mistake about it, I am very excited for what Soros is going to bring to the table. What I am worried about for Soros is Soros' potential sales and how they're going to go about it, especially when we have the eluding fact that $80 is about to become a thing with PlayStation, and more than likely PSN is going to get another price hike, and we haven't even talked about PlayStation 5 Pro also going up in prices as well. So there are a lot of factors here that are definitely not looking good in the future for all of their upcoming games, so to speak. Intergalactic is another good example of this too. Like, first impressions are everything. They need to absolutely shine when it comes to these games. Now, let's just go back to this for a second here, though, this live surge situation. They basically said they make all their money. That's their main revenue is through monthly active users, through subscriptions, and, of course, software sales, which that shouldn't even be a question at this point. But, some people believe that they made all their money through the hardware, and that has absolutely never been the case. Yes, they'll usually take a loss. This is how console gaming works, and this will be the last time I ever say this again for the people who don't know. When Sony and Microsoft, especially when they sell their consoles, they usually sell them at a loss, and they make their money back off of the software. Now, as time progresses and parts become cheaper to make, they then take less of a hit, if not no hit, and then they make a little bit, money off them, or they just break even and then they just make money off the software, and everything either balances itself out or it goes up. That's just how it is with consoles. It's always been like that. Nothing big there in terms of a surprise. Nothing. And it shouldn't be a surprise. But anyway, so I'm watching this again. I'm continuing. I'm like, okay, a lot of what I've already expected, or I expected to be said, was said here. And then it gets into the crazy part. Now, I want you to understand something. And a lot of people believe I have a vendetta against PlayStation 5 Pro. The answer is quite simple. I do not. I just believe that the PS5 Pro was unnecessary, and I don't believe, us hyping up a re-implementation of FSR4, which is coming next year, is a good look for a console that you already spent $700 for, and you're barely getting 60 FPS. If not, you're still getting 30 FPS in games. That's just not really appealing to me whatsoever. I can't call that a premium product or a game that's for the enthusiasts. The enthusiasts like me, like you, want we want the stable 60. We want those higher fidelity visuals. PS5 Pro can't deliver all that. So for people that went to the extreme saying that this is doing X amount of things different, well, a lot of them got scammed. And what's even more crazy about this too? Here is the icing on the cake that completely spits in your face at this point. So Nishino, who used to be the co-CEO of PlayStation with Herman Holtz, who now went down to being the head of PlayStation Studios, he flat out said that PlayStation 6 is on the top of their mind. That's one of their top priorities for right now in terms of the company. But keep in mind, before you get upset about him saying PS6 is the top priority of PlayStation, I'm going to backtrack to Herman Holtz for a second and put a quote that he said from the interview as well. And this is what he says. When it comes to PlayStation single-player titles, PlayStation are focused on delivering at least one tentpole title each year. On single-player, we're focused on consistently delivering at least one tentpole title per year as the right time in the year. So, let me tell you something. And this is where I get in my bag, and I guess you could say I'm getting kind of petty. But again, let's just throw this out here as if somebody who bought a PS5 Pro, right? You spent $700 on PS5 Pro. I'm pretty damn sure you bought a PS5 Pro because you were expecting the games. So we went from, here's a little bit of a history lesson. When Sean Layton was overseeing PlayStation, we had a game for each quarter of the year. So that's 4 games in 1 year that we had guaranteed from PlayStation when Sean Layton was overseeing PlayStation Studios and Kaz Hirai was running Sony as a whole, as a corporation. Now you're seeing the difference in terms of shift, in terms of Suits running the company, who are trying to maximize profit margins and maximize potential growth, right? Versus gamers who understood the gamer, who knew what the gamer wanted, who knew what the gamers were passionate about and what they delivered. It's completely 2 different scenarios here. Sean Layton was focused on giving us games upon games upon games upon games each particular year. PlayStation's talking about giving you at least 1. And you know what's funny about this? You had dudes going to these streamers saying, oh, make sure you guys put an emphasis on at least 1. Let me tell you something. If you're on this fence and you are damage controlling getting 1 game per year, but yeah, you're over here, and keep in mind too, you're over here hyping up playing Xbox games on this PlayStation, which the very same games you demonize, calling trash, saying you don't want them, but you're paying top dollar for, you look like a idiot. It is not something to be proud about. It's not something to be chilled about. First of all, when this one particular game eventually runs or drops or whatever, there's no guarantee that game's going to be in the top 10 at this rate because Microsoft has literally dominated PlayStation storefront. Think about that. You fire up your PlayStation console, a console that a lot of us bought for the single player games. I can't say all of us, but I'll say a lot of us, especially me. We bought for the first party quality games, right? You're now seeing Xbox Game Studios on your PlayStation themed browser and on your PlayStation when you hit start. How the fuck does that make any sense, and how the hell does that make you look in the long run when you can't even so much as go down your list and name what PlayStation game you got? This is why I said, and I'll continue to stand on this horse, or on this hill, excuse me. Every single time we have a moment to speak up and it matters, nobody takes the initiative to stand on business. They wait till the last second and then they want to cry and complain and act like, oh, how could this have happened in America? And I'm laughing at you every single time along the way. Because guess what? You dudes are spineless. When it matters, you're spineless. You try to demonize the gamer. Dudes coming at my boy Jack Moves saying Jack Moves an Xbox when Jack doesn't even own an Xbox. And he plays more PlayStation than 90% of the clowns who talk about PlayStation. He don't give a shit about no damn Xbox. You think I give a damn about buying an Xbox? Everybody, especially my Xbox brothers and PC friends as well, they'll tell you, I respect all platforms, but I also have my preference. But here's the thing. I don't let my preference dictate or get in the way of what's right and what's wrong and what needs to be talked about and what does not need to be talked about, wasting our energy on. Okay? Simple. Listen, this is how I'm always going to look at it too. And I want you to really take this into account too. All this energy dudes have put into talking about Microsoft, how they're trash, how Microsoft's gone, how Microsoft is dead, how Xbox is done. Microsoft is literally laughing at all these idiots who have said they're done, and they're laughing at them all the way to the bank. Not only is Microsoft funding all their studios, something that Sony is failing at, as Sony has closed numerous studios, Sony can't even match what Microsoft's doing in terms of output of first-party content right now because Microsoft has been on a roll. Clearly, something is working and something is not working. Tying something to one box is not going to help the console. And speaking of tying the box to the console and going forward, I'm going to tag this on here too because this flows right into PlayStation 6 and it goes into what I said about hybrid consoles. I do believe PlayStation 6 is going to have some particular way of having Steam integration. It would be the smartest move that they can possibly make when it comes to these consoles going forward at this point in time. I honestly do believe it's going to be the case. The reason why I do believe is because it's too much money to be left on the table, and it's too much of an opportunity, or it'll be too much of a missed opportunity, really, to gravitate to that to the Steam library or the Steam environment, but also make it seamless for people to play their games. I do believe this is the case. It makes all the sense in the world. Now, Microsoft, if Sony is going to go this route, I expect Microsoft to have the full-fledged, like, all-in, like, done type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's so seamless. PlayStation, I do see them lifting a lot of the walls that already exist. You know what I mean? I do expect them to have a lot more things be accessible, but I don't know if it's going to be full-fledged like Microsoft is going to do, because Microsoft's going all in. This is going to be like a full, like, straight, like, line. Like, if you bought an Xbox Series S or an Xbox Series X and you're tired of it and you want to upgrade, guess what? You buy the parts, you build the PC, you download Steam, and guess what? You log in, and all your stuff from your Xbox library will be there. That is a future that I'm okay with. Why? Because it gives us as a community options. We no longer have to be at the mercy of poor optimization. Granted, and I know that's a weird comment coming from me too, because there's really no guarantee of that anyway, and which is kind of sad. But you have options to combat a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? Especially egregious things like you having to pay online, pay these subscription fees for what? For what? PlayStation has taken away the Stars program. There's no real incentive for you to continue to, to go all out the way they were trying to advertise us. So what exactly are we getting out of PlayStation? Really ask yourself that. But anyway, I do believe that this is something that they're going to do. I do believe this will be a future where we're looking at a future where we're having consoles and that seamless transition to Steam at this point in time, especially with the news of Stellar Blade. For those of you that don't know, Stellar Blade has sold about 2 million on PlayStation 5 when it came out. Obviously in its overall lifetime sales, about 2 million. Within 3 days, the game has sold over 1 million on Steam. Let me hit you with that one more again. Within 3 days, it sold over 1 million. Crazy, ain't it? And dudes think that Sony's going to be done with it's not going to do day and date, and Sony's going to leave money off the table. Oh, no, they're not leaving a damn scrap off the table at this point. And you can tell that Herman Holtz wanted to say that he wants to do that. But the thing is, if you watch the business meeting, Herman Holtz and everybody conveniently keep looking to the left because they're reading off a teleprompter some stuff what not to say. Because this is clearly what the future is going to be for PlayStation. An open platform like Microsoft. What is the point of having barriers behind content when everything is uniform and seamless and everybody gravitates to this and everybody is, benefits from this? I can't see a future anymore when it comes to just relying on exclusivity. I really can't. There's only one platform that can get away with having the exclusivity, and that's Nintendo, because Nintendo has the structure for it. Nintendo has the perfect money scheme, so to speak, to fund their exclusives, to fund their hardware, and be in their own lane. Nintendo has never run into a problem, even close to PlayStation, in regards to launching a console, aside from the Wii U. But let's face it, they never really ran into an issue for the most part. Their track record is pretty insane. It's very consistent. They haven't had no crazy issues. PlayStation, Microsoft, they've had multiple throughout the generations. They've had multiple issues where they can't work with, less content, etc. Not Nintendo. Nintendo is so self-sufficient that they're on to another level. And the sad part is, I don't even agree with Nintendo's egregious way of going about things. But one thing I will admit, Nintendo absolutely knows their audience, and they know exactly what's going to sell. And that right there, I'll just leave it at that. Moving on, though. So here's where the day and date situation is getting closer, right? I keep telling, I know people are tired of me saying it's getting close, but at this point in time, you might as well say it's here. Sony has officially removed all the regional restrictions for all of their Steam games from PlayStation as a whole. All the restrictions that affected, especially their biggest game, their biggest success, which was Helldivers 2, has officially been removed. And guess what? All these restrictions will be carrying over to all games as it goes. So expect Lost Souls aside to have no restrictions and all that BS. Even though they made that collaboration, but still, all their games are not gonna have restrictions. They're already bending the knee as it is. They no longer need PSN requirements. There's no restrictions whatsoever. Steam users have now taught PlayStation the value of the consumer is always right type of thing. And this right here is what I talked about for us as a PlayStation community. Coming together, demanding better, and getting results. Dudes wanted to argue with me, claiming I just wanted to make up stuff, or I wanted to argue for the sake of being, arguing. And guess what? You know what we've gotten in the midst of you clowns arguing and trying to demonize me? We've got more canceled games than anything. And now you guys, Sony, going to the extreme and talking about something. We'll continue to add more value to PS Plus. Question, how the hell can you add value to PS Plus when PS Plus in general has lost most of its value as it is? You up the charge of PS Plus. It's about to go up again when we get into the hardware price hike. It's about to go up again. So what exactly do you offer PS Plus users? The PlayStation Stars program is not even included or anything of that nature. So you don't get no awards for buying games for PlayStation Plus. You don't get anything worthwhile. The only thing you're really offering that's behind the price tag is a damn cloud saves. And even that, I would say, is not fucking worth it as it is. That should be free. What exactly are you offering PS Plus users? What are you? There's no free multiplayer games, which, by the way, probably could have helped Concord. But of course, that just, I guess that wasn't on the bingo cards for PlayStation. They were expecting everybody to pay that $70, and well, they said bye-bye to a studio. I'm just saying, Sony has had multiple opportunities to turn negatives into positives, and they have turned a lot of these negatives into extreme negatives, and we have been, in a worse state altogether for it. And some people might not like that I'm saying this, but it is the facts. Sony is so far behind in terms of what the consumer wants, and a lot of people like to just sit here and just hype up, semantics and numbers about stuff, but they fail to realize that PlayStation's main thing that's selling it is not even the first party that they've already released here. The lack of that is. The thing that's selling PS5 is the success of PS4. And guess what? What do you think is going to happen with PS6? People are going to go into PS6, especially those who went into this console generation from PS4, and now they're going to be questioning themselves. What exactly are you going to bring new to the table for PS6? Because I'm telling you right now, things are not looking any good. And I will say this. PlayStation obviously will still be here. I'm not going to be, this ain't no doom and gloom. PlayStation's still going to be here. Microsoft will still be here. Nintendo will be here still. But one thing that will be changing is the way business is handled and the way things is going to be, going forward. And you know what's funny about it? I'm okay with it. I'm tired of these grown-ass men, these weirdos crying over stuff they don't even support. I'd rather everything be open and everybody has an option to play their games and enjoy their games. I'm sick and tired of people who don't even buy games telling people they got to spend X amount of money. And then when you ask them, did they spend X amount of money? They don't spend a fucking dime. They wait for sales, which kind of refutes the fucking points they try to make on social media. But hey, that's them. I'm tired of arguing with people because guess what? I told you we were heading here, and guess what? We're already here. The door was wide open. There's no closing the door. It doesn't matter what you guys say or do now in the future. It's done. PlayStation has officially embraced being third party. All their games will be going everywhere as it currently stands. Microsoft can now play PlayStation titles. You think that's going to stop anytime soon? No, it's not. It's not going to stop. PlayStation knows that they need to adapt to survive. This is about survival, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely about survival. Anybody can get a good generation, but all it takes is one screw up in one generation. And guess what? All the success that you had prior can immediately go down the toilet. Sony needs to catch up ASAP with what the consumer wants and definitely need to get in touch with what the consumer can absolutely do as it currently stands. Times are already tough as it is, and they're getting ready to upcharge you for a damn PS5 Pro that can't even do a lock 60, and they're about to charge you $800 for it. Think about that. And with PS6 be on the top of their mind as I close this video, That makes you wonder, doesn't it, people? How much is PS6 going to be if PS5 Pro is $700 retail right now, right? With the, and all it does is just the AI upscaling, whatever. What is PS6 going to cost us when they do an actual upgrade? Really think about that, because the narrative that went around that PC gaming is too expensive is no longer a thing. The narrative that went around that console gaming is the cheapest, way into, next gen gaming is out the window. But hey, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just being a realist, and I'll just leave it at that. Thanks you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on another one. You guys be blessed, y'all be easy, and I will holler at you guys later. You guys have an awesome day, man, and y'all be safe out here. It's your boy Big Cloud. I am out, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.